Trend line trading was one of the first strategies that I used when it came to day trading. And we're going to talk about kind of one of the strategies that I used and why I no longer use it. It's become really popular recently. For whatever reason, it is one of the pieces, right? It is a strategy you can use, but I'm going to talk about in this video what I have not heard talked about when it comes to trend line trading. And it's a key thing that I think is being missed because I think the error that comes in when it comes to trend line trading is it's very subjective, A, and B, what I'm not hearing or seeing taught is necessarily the confirmation of that trend line. And let's talk about like what's subjective and what kind of worked with trend lines, what didn't work with trend lines, and let's just grab there. Yeah, I had it selected. So we can see there's kind of a downward trend here. So let's talk about again how it's subjective. We have a downtrend here, but we also have an uptrend starting to form here. And I'm on the 1 minute chart. I used to trade the 1 minute, and this is a strategy that worked out for me really well until it didn't. And that's because, trend line trading is pretty subjective. I could have, looked at, oh, I see this upward trend. There's this nice bounce. Let's look at this trend, this confirmation. And you often see like, all right, we have 3 touches. Let's go long. So here we have our first touch, 1 touch, 2 touch, and now 3 touches on this one. So let's go long. And this is another key factor when I haven't really heard talked about is you want to see the price action react to whatever level you're setting, whether that's a daily level, a pre-market level, or you're setting a trend line, whatever that trend. And if you zoom in here, we don't see that it bounces at this trend. And so you would want to see this bounce before you enter on that trade. If somebody's out there teaching, we're one, 2 bounces on your trend line, 3 bounces on your trend line, let's take that long. You're going to get screwed on that trade because, and people might say, oh, but just because it touches 3 times doesn't mean it's going to work out for you. You could touch 5 times, 6 times, whatever it is. But the key thing is always watching price action. So if you don't see a reaction at your level, whatever level you're setting, you don't enter that trade. And I think that's the key thing that's not being taught when it comes to trend lines. So you want to see reactions to those trends. But the other thing is subjective, right? So we have an uptrend here, but the bigger trend is this downtrend that we see forming here, right? And we could kind of extend that out. We could go from that pre-market, trend. We also had this uptrend here. We could draw trend lines all day, and I think that's the key thing when it comes to trend line strategy and trading alone. You're really trading in a vacuum if you're only trading trend lines. So I think that's the key thing to talk about. Another thing is you want to zoom out and look out at the higher time frame. So if you're really trading trend lines, you should be looking at higher time frames. You can clearly see this trend here. Once this trend line broke to the downside, once it broke onto the downside, it clearly went up. But again, it's somewhat subjective. Looking here, there was a clear uptrend that way. And when it's kind of comes to trend lines, it's just you're retracing. So after it breaks this trend, we're looking for the next, uptrend. It broke the trend up. So now let's look at the next trend line. Now we're on this uptrend here on the 1 minute. And it continues on this uptrend. Up, it broke. I should head short. So now it broke this trend. Now I should go short. And clearly it does not get the continuation. So it means we're still long, but you're still short on the trade. So that's what I mean. It's very subjective. It's not taking in kind of true support and resistance levels. So I would not recommend. This was a great trading. It worked for me, but then it didn't because I didn't have the bigger picture in mind. I didn't have the true fundamentals when it comes to trading. And if you're going to do some trend line trading, you should really be more of a swing trader looking at kind of those daily time frames and looking at opportunities to really enter in those for like bigger trades and longer holds. That's what I would recommend when it comes to trend line trading. If somebody's telling you to day trade with trend lines, I would not recommend that. You need to be a swing trader when it comes to trend lines and looking at bigger trends and entering those trades and holding longer. I don't feel more I don't feel as comfortable holding long when it comes to some of these because of how wild the market is. Again, at this point in time, we're technically in a war, right? We're in war with Iran. We have oil prices, and all of a sudden we're at all-time highs, right? That makes no sense. So holding, overnight contracts when it comes to options, I mean, you could really get squeezed out. So wouldn't necessarily recommend holding overnight if you're a day trader or a swing trader with that kind of thing, unless you really know what you're doing. So I hope that makes sense when it comes to trend lines. I'm not the biggest fan. They can work, but it's really subjective. It's important that you zoom out and look at the bigger trend for the day, and you really want to see confirmation of your trend lines when it comes to trend line trading. You don't want to just purely react to the trend itself. Make sure you're seeing confirmation or rejection of your trend line before you enter a trade.